It was nearly midnight when Daniel Harper saw the shape lying on the side of the empty highway. At first, he thought it was a pile of trash blown in by the wind. But as his old pickup truck rolled closer, his headlights revealed something that made his heart stop. A woman, motionless, bruised, and alone on the cold pavement. Daniel was a poor single dad who barely had enough to feed his 8-year-old son Caleb. He had every reason to keep driving. But that night, one small decision would change his life forever. Before we begin, if stories about compassion and real human strength move your heart, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Welcome to Heartfelt Moments, where we share stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be. Daniel Harper worked 2 part-time jobs in a small Ohio town. During the day, he stocked shelves at a grocery store. At night, he cleaned offices. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, it had just been him and Caleb. Money was tight. Some weeks, Daniel had to choose between fixing the truck and buying new shoes for his son. That evening, Daniel was driving home from his cleaning shift. Caleb was asleep in the back seat, curled under a faded blue blanket. The heater in the truck barely worked, and the November air was bitter cold. When Daniel saw the figure on the roadside, he hesitated for a split second. Stopping could mean trouble. What if it was dangerous? What if he couldn't afford whatever came next? But then he thought of Caleb. He thought about the kind of man he wanted his son to become. Daniel pulled over. He ran to the woman and knelt beside her. She was in her early 40s, her dark hair tangled and matted with dirt. Her face was swollen, and her breathing was shallow. Her legs lay still at an unnatural angle.
"Ma'am, can you hear me?"
Daniel whispered, gently touching her shoulder. Her eyelids fluttered. A faint sound escaped her lips. Daniel didn't waste another second. He called 911 and removed his own jacket, placing it over her trembling body. The cold asphalt had already drained so much of her warmth. Within minutes, sirens pierced the night. Paramedics carefully lifted her onto a stretcher. One of them turned to Daniel. "You saved her life. Another hour out here, and she wouldn't have made it." Daniel nodded, his hands shaking not from the cold, but from the weight of what he'd just witnessed. At the hospital, Daniel could have left. He had work in the morning, bills waiting at home, a child asleep in his truck, but something inside him told him to stay. He carried Caleb into the waiting room and sat under the harsh fluorescent lights. Hours passed. Finally, a doctor approached him. "Are you family?" the doctor asked. "No," Daniel replied softly. "I just found her." The doctor studied him for a moment. "She suffered severe trauma. We believe she was assaulted and pushed from a moving vehicle. There's significant spinal damage. She may never walk again." Daniel felt a heavy ache in his chest. No one deserved that. The next morning, before heading to work, Daniel stopped by the hospital again. He didn't know why. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was compassion. The woman was awake. Her name was Rebecca Lawson. Her voice was fragile, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She listened quietly as Daniel explained how he found her. Tears filled her eyes. "You didn't have to stop," she whispered. "I know," Daniel said. "But I hope someone would stop for my son one day." Over the next few weeks, Daniel visited Rebecca whenever he could. He brought simple things: fresh flowers from a roadside stand, magazines, even one of Caleb's drawings that said, "Get well soon." Rebecca learned about Daniel's life, about the overdue rent notices, about how Caleb dreamed of becoming an astronaut, about the truck that broke down every other month. What Daniel didn't know was who Rebecca Lawson truly was. She wasn't just any woman. Rebecca was the founder and CEO of Lawson Tech Industries, a multi-million-dollar technology company headquartered in Chicago. She had built her business from scratch, earning a reputation as one of the most determined entrepreneurs in the Midwest. The night she was attacked, she had been traveling alone after a late meeting. The investigation was ongoing, but her life had changed forever. One afternoon, nearly 2 months after the accident, Rebecca asked Daniel to sit down. "I owe you everything," she said. "You don't owe me anything," Daniel replied quickly. "I just did what anyone should do." Rebecca shook her head gently. Most people don't stop." A week later, Daniel received a call that left him speechless. Rebecca had insisted on helping him, but not with a simple check. She had arranged something far more meaningful. First, she paid off Daniel's overdue rent, and ensured he and Caleb would have stable housing for the next 2 years. Then she set up a college fund for Caleb, enough to cover tuition wherever his dreams might take him. But she didn't stop there. Rebecca offered Daniel a full-time position at Lawson Tech's new local branch office, which she decided to open in his small town as part of her recovery and restructuring plan. The job came with training, health insurance, and a salary Daniel had never imagined earning. When Daniel tried to protest, Rebecca looked at him with steady eyes from her wheelchair. "You didn't see a CEO on that road," she said. "You saw a human being. Let me see you the same way." Daniel accepted, not out of pride, but out of gratitude. Months later, at the grand opening of the new Lawson Tech office, Daniel stood beside Rebecca as she addressed a small crowd. She spoke about resilience, about second chances, but most of all, she spoke about kindness. "There are moments in life," she said, her voice strong despite everything she'd endured, "when someone chooses to care. That choice saved my life. And today, I hope this company can save others in return." Caleb tugged at his father's sleeve and whispered, "Dad, you're a hero." Daniel knelt down and smiled. "No, buddy, I just stopped. Life didn't magically become perfect." Rebecca faced long months of physical therapy. Daniel still worked hard every day. But something had shifted. Kindness had created a bridge between two completely different worlds. A poor single father and a powerful CEO. One simple act pulling over on a dark highway had rewritten both their futures. And maybe that's the lesson we all need to remember. You never know who you're helping. You never know how far your compassion might reach. Sometimes, the smallest decision to stop, to care, to stay can echo for a lifetime. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still matters. Because in a world that can feel cold and uncertain, your choice to care might be the very thing that changes everything. Let's keep spreading kindness, one small act at a time.